Folks, you're in for a very special treat today. This is going to be Fred Nwankwo and Bold Talk completely unleashed. As Yorubas will say, Enroki la Jerry, and as Igbos will say, Nkege mechi, Yameta, we are on the right side of history. We have to fight to regain the dignity of our country. This is our anniversary edition. It's a coincidence. So I'm in that spirit between the anniversary and the fact that we have to fight for this stuff. What else do we have for future generations but to fight to regain what is rightfully theirs? Kick back, relax. It's going to be a good one. It was 2 years ago that we started this journey. And those are 2 years that I really cherish. And I truly wish that what we brought you has meant everything we promised. In this episode, there's not going to be one boring second. Just kick back, relax, and enjoy. It's gonna be Fred Nwankwo completely unleashed. Relax, kick back. We got some good stuff for you today.
Hey, hey, hey. Azaga, zaga, zaga. Azaga, zaga. Hey, hey,
Kaikene Fred Nwankwo Ezudo Eze Nwankwo si ajalebia Publisher African Lifestyle Magazine Chicago Nwankwo ndị Chicago ji ejemba Onye Chukwu goziri Amano kpara nwe ihe ọ ga-eme.
Hello everybody. Once again, this is Fred Nwankwo coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bold Talk on Allen TV. As usual, I'd like to say to you good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, depending on where you are around the world. Welcome to our show today and the new format we're experimenting with, and I think we're going to like it. We'll like your feedback. Today, we're going to set the tone with the judicial mess that has brought us to what we are going through today in Nigeria.
Take a message to Mary and just tell her what they have done.
Folks, if Nigerians don't collectively fight this mess, whether it's civil disobedience across the country or whatever form of fight you want to fight, non-violent. I'm not advocating violence. If we don't fight this tomfoolery and crookedness and a drug kingpin that's been forced upon us as our president, when he's done, what Nigeria went through the last 8 years under Buhari will be child's play compared to what this man is going to do to Nigeria. As they say in the streets of Nigeria, this man will pepper you.
Pepper them, Bolande pepper them, pepper them, Bolande pepper them, pepper them, Bolande pepper them, pepper them.
Now let's get into it. Before I bring you a soundbite from one of Nigeria's respected news anchors or TV hosts or whatever we call them, let me kind of set some kind of tone to what you're going to hear. See, the problem is that Nigerians are so much in denial and corruption is so endemic in the system that even people you don't think are corrupt, and I really don't think this person is corrupt. I respect him as a journalist, but sometimes he tries to overcompensate. He doesn't want to offend them here, and he doesn't want to offend them here. And in the end, what he does is make a fool of himself. Listen to Dr. Abati talk about Nigeria's electoral laws and what's required to be president. And everything he's going to state is fact. When intelligent people bullshit you, they bullshit you with facts. But in the end, the facts don't make sense because they are telling one side of a story. So I'm going to play what he says, and I'll come back and and tell you the other side of the story, which he cleverly avoided.
The issue about President Tinubu's academic qualification is of no moment. It's not an issue. The people who have been digging into it since 1999 when he became governor of Lagos State, they're just wasting time. Section 131 sub D of the 1999 Constitution says for you to be president of Nigeria, you will have qualification of school cert. At least, that section says at least a school certificate qualification or its equivalent. Now, that one that says at least means that in fact you are not required to even complete secondary school. You could be F9 parallel, as many people who have led Nigeria came out with F9 parallel. So you don't need, we are running a country where your education does not matter. So all of us, because we carry degrees, we wore academic gowns here and there, we think that the people who should run Nigeria should be educated people. No, the Constitution of Nigeria does not say so. And that's why we had that issue about school cert with President Buhari. No.
I completely agree with Dr. Abati based on the facts he brought out. But then the part that Dr. Abati cleverly avoided that would have made his statement complete are these. Dr. Abati, the issue here is not whether you need to have beyond secondary education to be president of Nigeria. That's not the issue. The issue is that you have a man as president of Nigeria who lied about his birth certificate, who lied about his secondary school education, who lied about his university education, who lied about places that he has worked, who is a drug kingpin that was indicted in America for drug dealing, who has used money both in Nigeria and America to bribe people to cover up for him. Dr. Abati, a young lady, a 19-year-old lady, forged her JAMB certificate. And you and the rest of the media reported it like if this girl needs to be hung. But you're here defending a man who has forged and lied over an 80-year period. A man who is the role model that young lady who did wrong by forging her JAMB certificate. It's this man and crooks like him that those young people in Nigeria are seen as role models. The issue is not whether he's qualified to be the president if he has a school certificate. The issue is that he doesn't have a school certificate from any place in Nigeria except something he forged. Dr. Abati, you have too much at stake. You're a highly qualified journalist, attorney, name it. And you bring a lot to the table. I watch you all the time. I like you. But please, these are some of the kind of excuses that you hear from either people who wholeheartedly support Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Why, I don't know. But every one of them is teaching their children not to be drug dealers and not to cheat. But their children are watching them support a crook and a drug dealer. Now listen to a different perspective on the same matter by a journalist that is sitting at the same desk with Dr. Abati. Listen to Rufai Oseni discuss the same thing about Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his certificates and his qualifications. Just listen.
Concerning the certificate, I think a lot of people should come out clean, and the university and the institution should come out clean. Why is all of this happening? The certificate he presented to INEC is different from the one a lawyer, Enahoro Eba, got from CSU. And they filed a case as regards that never saw the light of day. There were discrepancies as regards what the same Chicago State University gave Enahoro Eba, a lawyer, and what the president filed in his INEC form. We should not have a country where we're having discrepancies in certificates of leaders. And that's why the subpoena is clear in the Vanguard News report last year, and the documents are public source. All the records that CSU gave. And it's based on that Atiku Abubakar is going to court. So there's been a lot of back and forth in court as regards the case. But CSU is not also willing to authenticate this same certificate that they gave out. They can also authenticate their own certificate. So it's a blight on CSU. So no matter how much CSU tries to go and contact CBS and issue a report, the question we should ask them is, why can't they authenticate the certificate they gave out? Because if you give out an authenticate certificate, you should be able to authenticate it as the body that issued the certificate. And also, why are there discrepancies in who signs the certificates? A man that just came in 1998 signed a certificate that was issued in 1979. And that's why when Mr. Duro Jaye came out to say he went to school, we would like to have the man on the table here because we would like to ask critical questions about his time in school. And it's not today we had cases against the president as regards certificate issue. That's back to over 20 years ago. Even the primary school he went to and the secondary school he went to are still things we should ask for. You remember the conundrum of GCI? You remember also St. Paul's School, our lawyer. So there are many questions, and there needs to be clarity on the primary school he went to, the secondary school, and the university. Because so that people have a right to be able to know.
Yeah, so the truth shall set you free. in this segment, I'm not really talking to Dr. Abati. I respect Dr. Abati. I just didn't like the nonsense he said about the certificate issue. In this segment, I'm talking to all those Tinubu apologists that either send me comments on my videos or send me chat messages telling me, oh, here is the authentic certificate that Chicago State issued. No, Chicago State did not issue any authentic certificate. And one thing I have for you, you can believe it if you want to, but it's fact, is that everything Bola Ahmed Tinubu has ever achieved in his life, based on antecedents, everything he has achieved in his life was achieved on the back of lies, forgeries, intimidation, thuggery, embezzling, or illegal drug dealing. There is not a single clean thing on this man's life. And every one of you, I know you one by one. I've met some of your children, great children, and I've seen you preaching to them about morality. You have to be good kids. You have to stay away from drugs. You don't have to lie. But every one of you is lying through your teeth due to tribalism or just admiring somebody's money and ignoring and disregarding the dirt from where the money came. You have to live with your conscience. And as for me, as Igbos will say, enyimade menkoja. Ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀bù ṣẹlẹ̀. I'm here. My facts are clear. You argue on sentiments and tribalism. I argue on facts and facts and facts. And I stand by my facts. And on that note, I beg make a dance more before I continue. And I hope say you'd enjoy my dance.
There is a beautiful home in a faraway land where the saints of God are gathering. Hear the sweet melodies they are singing unto the Lord. Oh, they are giving him praises forevermore. Alan Kemarama, Ebeti Aya, Ebenti Sobi, Aleluya.
And then the disappointment continues. People who you grew up respecting, looking up to as the epitome of knowledge and fairness and nation building and fairness building in a nation. And as they get old in Nigeria, something happens. I don't know if it's because Nigeria reduces people who should be very, very comfortable in their old age. Because of corruption and deprivation, Nigeria reduces our elite to beggars. And then you find a man like Wole Soyinka, one of the brightest literary minds in Nigeria, all of a sudden telling bold white lies without embarrassment. Because after he came back to Nigeria after Abacha's exile of him, or self-imposed exile from Abacha, he was penniless. And Bola Ahmed Tinubu furnished his apartment for him, probably put some money in his bank account, drug money, and he pretended he didn't know that was dirty drug money. And Nigerians ignored it because we just respected him. And like Americans will say, we felt like, Wole, say it ain't so. Please let it not be. But then now we can't afford to say what the facts are about this man. He has gone from the height of a respected statesman to a shameful penny collector from a drug dealer. Listen to Wole Soyinka and the shameful thing he said about an election that Ray Charles, who was blind, could clearly see that the election was rigged. And Stevie Wonder did not have to wonder who won that election.
These recent elections, it's unfortunate that because the two things happened, first of all. One party took over the labor movement, which is one of my favorite movements also. And then it became a regional party. So I could say categorically that Peter Obi's party came third, not even second. And that the leadership knew it. You know, you have force of arms. You also have force of lies. And it was gearing up towards violence. They were going to send, some of the hardliners were going to send crowds, young people, into the streets to demonstrate. I'm always ready to be among such demonstrators, but only on the banner of truth, not of lies, not of deceit.
Professor Wole Soyinka, as you lied through your teeth, I felt embarrassed because God knows, for people who have followed my writings and followed my videos, God knows that I've defended you as one of Nigeria's last standing sources of truth. This is disgraceful. And he also hinted at something, that they turned the Labour Party into a tribal party. How, in any form, anybody who closely followed the Labour Party, in what form can you call that a tribal party? And it goes to tell you that when you see ignorant, uneducated Yorubas in the streets converting every problem in Nigeria to an Igbo problem, you can now see that it's not those uneducated ones, that they are just rehearsing what they heard discussed by a tribalistic elite, which shamefully Wole Soyinka is now falling under that category of tribalists in Nigeria. The obedient movement was heavily participated in by progressive Yoruba youth and progressive Yorubas. The Yorubas who don't see tribe in an effort to build Nigeria. And now, Wole Soyinka is now the flag bearer of those people who call the obedient movement an Igbo movement. There is no way Peter Obi would have destroyed Nigeria's drug kingpin in Lagos by anything from 300,000 votes to 900,000, depending on which numbers you're looking at. There's no way Peter Obi would have destroyed Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Lagos by that number of votes if all he got was Igbo support. Most of the votes that Peter Obi destroyed Bola Ahmed Tinubu with in Lagos came from progressive Yorubas and progressive youth that were heavily involved in the obedient movement. May God bless them. May God bless Yorubas, progressives, and moderates. And may God give them the will not to give up on the intimidation of the Bola Ahmed Tinubus and the Wole Soyinkas who lied through their teeth. Wole Soyinka, I am disgraced and ashamed of you as a Nigerian. Now listen to what this political analyst said about Wole Soyinka. It's not just me talking. And I hope more people will talk, more credible people will lend voice to this. Because it's time to call a spade while making it clear that we are not talking about Yoruba progressives. Nigeria's Yoruba progressives and Yoruba moderates are key to building Nigeria. And when we point out issues with particular people who happen to be Yoruba, it's not about Yorubas. It's about somebody who is just wrong.
I mean, what he said has already stirred the hornet's nest, so to speak. And it's not the first time. From day one, he has been at odds with the obedient movement. He hasn't agreed with them on anything. However, on this particular matter, it seems that he is not reading accurately the mood of the nation. There are hopes and aspirations of young people that have been dashed. And these people organize themselves to see if they can be an opposition to the APC and the PDP, or the PDP particularly that hasn't offered any opposition to the APC. And the way that the elections were conducted, it is a very difficult and unpleasant experience for people to talk about. So you have to be sensitive to that fact. I don't think he has been. Also, these young people that he talks about, they think and they believe that Professor Wole Soyinka's generation, President Muhammad Buhari's generation, President Bola Tinubu, and the rest of them have wrecked this nation. So other people have to be mindful of what is happening and have to be sensitive to that. So I think a lot of people are not going to take this lightly, and I think he will lose quite a bit of following with regard to what he has said.
Yes, folks. Wole Soyinka and his generation have wrecked this nation. Yes, Wole Soyinka is part of the generation that wrecked Nigeria. And at this stage, it's time for them to leave the stage. They have nothing else to offer but chop and lie, chop and lie, chop and lie. That's the only thing Wole Soyinka has to offer Nigeria now. And it brings me back to something that happened in the 90s under Babangida's administration that I refused to believe because I respected Wole Soyinka so much. But if you recall, Wole Soyinka was given an assignment by Babangida. I think it was to be the director of the Road Safety Corps, something to that effect. Don't quote me on exactly which agency it was. But if we go back and research and read up on how Wole Soyinka fell out with Babangida and left that agency disgracefully, even though the press at the time, there was no social media, it was the press that is controlled by journalists from the West, the Dele Alakes and the Bayo Onugas. They covered it up. Babangida had his issues with Nigeria, no question about it. But in this instance, Babangida accused Wole Soyinka of certain things in that agency. I wouldn't be specific, but go and do the research. And with the things he's going through now, and having his apartment furnished by a drug dealer in Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and then that became the hush money for him to lie to Nigerians on behalf of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I'm starting to wonder if what Babangida said about why Wole Soyinka left that agency assignment, I'm starting to wonder if there is some credibility in that story from Babangida, a man who didn't tell too many credible stories in the first place. But we're finding out that birds of the same feather flock together. Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't promise you a soft edition. I told you it's going to be hard-hitting on all sides. And I hope I delivered. And as usual, this is Fred Wonko coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bold Talk on Allen TV. And until next time, good night and God bless.
There is a beautiful home in a faraway land where the saints of God are gathering. Hear the sweet melodies they are singing unto the Lord. Oh, they are giving him praises forevermore. Alan Kemarama, Ebeti Aya, Ebenti Sobi, Alewuti, Noro Aputo, Anabukuru Juku, Aneye Aekele, Rebi Ebi, Yo Koko, Yo Koko, Yo Koko, Yo Koko, Yo Koko, Koko, Yo Koko, Yo Koko, Yo Koko. There is a beautiful home in a faraway land where the saints of God are gathering. Hear the sweet melodies they are singing unto the Lord. Oh, they are giving him praises forevermore. Alan Kemarama, Ebeti Aya, Ebenti Sobi, Alewuti, Noro Aputo, Anabukuru Juku, Aneye Aekele, Rebi Ebi, Yo Koko, Yo Koko, Yo Koko, Yo Koko, Yo Koko, Koko, Yo Koko, Yo Koko, Yo